I'm Vera Stewart, and happy holidays from the VeryVera Show. I'm so thrilled tonight to have my very special guest, Virginia Willis. Virginia, I am so glad that you cleared your calendar to be with us tonight.
Oh, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Your cookbooks, the first one, Bon Appetit, y'all, I'm telling you, the page with the blackberry cobbler is about to fall out of the book. It's just great. But Virginia was sweet enough to say, you know, I thought, what the heck, this is my favorite book. Why don't I just ask her if she'll join us on the show? And she has done so many things. She's catered for Bill Clinton and Jane Fonda. She studied in France. She is all over the place. And, you know, why don't you tell us what's going on?
Well, I'm working on a lot of different things. So I have my y'all books. I have another book called Lighten Up Y'all that'll be out soon. I have a little book on grits and okra. And I also have a great project starting in the new year called Down Home Comfort. So I'm all about teaching comfort food and chef-inspired recipes.
Oh gosh, well, you know, when we were trying to get this show together, I thought, well, why don't I ask her what she would like to prepare? So what are we making tonight?
So tonight we're going to be making a wintergreen and butternut squash gratin that we'll get to a little bit later on in the show. Delicious side dish for the holidays.
Sounds great.
And then we also have a mustard crusted pork loin that is delicious.
Well, this is one that I haven't tried, so I am so excited that you picked this.
The pork loin is a really user-friendly meat. It's moist, it's tender, there's a lot of bang for the buck, and this treatment, it looks a little fancy, but it's actually really, really simple.
Okay,
so
let's get started.
All right, so here's the pork loin, and I know that you got a great deal on.
Fresh market on Tuesdays, y'all. It's buy one, get one free on different meats, and it just so happened that it was pork loin.
That's wonderful, because what someone could do is like buy one and then put the other one in the freezer for later.
Right.
But what I do want to say is that sometimes when you buy a pork roast, it'll come with the netting.
Yes, and it did.
And it did. So it's great for when you're cooking the whole, but if we're going to crust it, we wanted to take that off.
Right.
Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my pork loin in a Ziploc bag or in a sealable container. Okay.
All right.
And then I'm going to add some garlic.
Ooh.
And mustard. So we've got two.
And you just chopped that garlic.
I just chopped that garlic. So we've got 2 layers of mustard flavor here. And then also some bay leaves, some thyme. Now you can pull the leaves off or you can just put it in just like that. I'm going to season it with a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper, and that's the first piece.
Okay.
Sort of roll it around a little bit, massage it, and put it in the refrigerator.
Okay.
And that's it. And I know that we've got
I'm going to get the other one out.
Exactly, that we did ahead. And what that does is, so the mustard just coats the meat, and then now I have these 2 mustard seeds, and you think, oh my gosh, that's a whole lot of mustard. It's really not that hot. So all I'm going to do is take my pork loin. We'll mix these up a little bit.
Oh, cool.
Help me with that.
Oh, yeah.
And then sort of plop our roast into the seeds. And all you need to do is roll
look at that.
And look how beautiful that is.
And you say that you don't have to be a chef, but you can look like one,
I know,
right?
exactly. And then the thing is, you think it's a whole lot of mustard, but it's really not. And we're gonna, if you'll pull forward that cast iron skillet for me, use your arms there.
Yeah.
That is it. We're gonna put it in the pan, roast in the oven, and then I'm gonna show everyone how to make a delicious pan sauce.
Oh gosh. Okay. So what temperature on the oven?
350, and you want to cook it just until it's barely pink.
Well, come back with us after the break. I think she said we were going to get started on the gratin.
Exactly.
It's going to be great. So come back with us after the break. Welcome back. And you know, during the break, I took this really nice little break. And Virginia
it made it work.
She was just working like crazy. But you know, that's the magic of TV. So Virginia, what did you get accomplished while we were gone?
Well, I think as you saw, I was able to show you a really great way to cut the butternut squash. It's a revelation.
This is crazy, I'm telling you.
So most of the time people try to press the knife through the squash and it's round and it might move and it's kind of scary.
It is.
So what I like to do is I like to hold the knife firmly against the squash and then actually just sort of tip the squash back and forth just a little bit, and the pressure of the knife.
And it just seemed like it went so easily.
It is easy. I'm not sure how I discovered that, but
I did,
and
but
I
it's
do love it.
great. Well, thanks for sharing that with us.
And the other piece that I like is I like to use a chef knife to peel it. You can use a paring knife, you can use a peeler, but it does have that tough skin. And then lastly, I love butternut squash. I really do, and I have them all the time. But often, it's nice to use this thick piece for something like the gratin, and then to use the round part to thinly slice it, seeds on, skin on.
Y'all have got to try this. I'm telling you.
A little bit of salt and pepper and olive oil, and it just makes a nice little, almost like a chip.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say. That because you've done it so thinly, it's a completely different flavor. And the roasting in the oven, I can't wait to try it. Okay, well, my job is to get the kale going.
Exactly.
So you want me to just put this in the boiling water?
Exactly. So we have some boiling salted water, and we're going to cook the kale just a bit because we don't want to put raw greens in here.
Okay.
They won't cook nicely. Other greens that you could use is winter greens. These good and good for you. Collard greens, mustard greens. I do like something with some toothsomeness. So I think spinach would be a little too soft.
Could you mix it up?
Yes, you could mix it up. And Mama doesn't like to use it because she says they have too big of pieces in there, but I've been known to use the bags of the pre-chopped kale that you can get. I find that's really handy in the kitchen. So once these are just barely tender, I'm going to ask you to please put them in this sieve because we want to press out some of the moisture.
All right.
And I'll get started on cutting the butternut squash. So I have the neck part, and I'm just going to slice through it.
And again, you're just really making sure that you're getting that knife secured at both ends.
Exactly.
Because it's tough.
It is tough, but it's a great thing to use. And then see now, because if I were to try to cut it like this, it's round and it moves. But if I cut it in half, there you are, and you have a flat surface. So all I have to do, and I have my fingers bent and my thumb tucked. We actually, this is a version of a recipe that I developed when I was the kitchen director for Martha Stewart.
Gosh, you know what? That is, you know, I studied under her for a little bit of time, so you really had. How long were you working with her?
I was with Martha for 3 years, and she has been a huge supporter and has loved both of my books.
Well, there's no reason why she wouldn't, because it is, both of them are just fabulous. Okay, now I'm going to let this, I'm getting this out.
Okay,
so that
great.
Can be draining, and you've got this pan going
So
right
what
here.
So what I'm going to do, and this isn't what Natalie, you know, I used to work with Natalie too. She'd call it a dump and stir. So this is not. There's a little bit to it, but this is a special recipe for the holidays. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat a little bit of olive oil in the pan.
All right.
And then we're going to add some garlic.
Oh, that smells so good. That's another one of those things you want to have cooking when your husband's coming home from work, is garlic.
All right, and then if you'll just press a little bit, and we'll take out some of that moisture from the kale, and then once a little bit of it's out, you can tip it into the skillet.
Okay, and I'll give you those.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. All right, we're just adding some flavor and taking out some of the moisture. Get back in there. All right, and a little bit of salt.
Great.
And a little bit of pepper. All right, you want to kind of stir those up a little bit for me, and I'll start. So we have a casserole, a baking dish. I'm just going to spray this a little bit.
And we're using a pretty red, so this can go straight to the table since this is for holiday.
And I'm just going to place the squash in. And it's super simple. So we'll have a layer of squash, and then we'll have a layer of greens, and those don't take but a second, but I also am going to season over with a little bit of nutmeg, a little salt, a little bit of pepper. You have to season as you go. And then I also have a little bit of allspice.
Woo!
So you could also use cinnamon. Cinnamon would be nice. Okay. And then the greens. All right. There we go. And then I'm going to top this with another layer of squash and pour over some heavy cream.
Okay.
And that'll
so
get
you're
in the
basically
oven.
just layering it. We're going to cover this with foil, and it's going to go in a 350.
It'll go in a 350 oven.
350 oven. You see how colorful it is. This is a great new side dish that you want to try. So come back with us after the break, and we're going to make.
We are going to finish up a topping for our gratin and the pan sauce for the mustard custard pork loin.
Come back. I just love a special occasion, especially when I have the opportunity to potentially give a toast. If you're a guest at a dinner party and you feel the urge to thank the host and hostess for a wonderful meal or time, just be sure to look around the table, make sure everyone has something in a glass that they can toast with. It doesn't matter which glass. In front of me I have a water goblet, a wine goblet, and a champagne glass. So as long as there's something in one of those glasses, you can use one of those to toast. Never use a utensil to ring the bell to have someone know that a toast is being given. Just say, "May I have your attention, please," is a better way to do it. If you're in charge of giving a toast, maybe at a rehearsal dinner, you might want to practice it a time or two before you give it. Otherwise, just keep it short and sweet and to the point. So just remember, toasts are great, a wonderful way to thank someone for a perfect evening. And welcome back. And if you are just joining us, you have really missed it because Virginia Willis. Virginia, thank you again. This has been
so much fun.
I am too. I'm having a great time. And you know, her two cookbooks, the Y'all series, are two of my absolute favorites. In fact, the Bon Appetit Y'all, I have pretty much, the pages are coming out of it. So certainly a great gift idea if you're looking for something for a special person in your life. I would certainly recommend that. But you know, on the last series, she didn't get to take a break during the break, and I put her to work. So this time I did a little bit of work. So while we were gone during the break, I got the gratin out of the oven, and I took a spatula and just kind of mashed it down just to get all the vegetables down in the cream. Put that back in the oven, covered up for about 20 more minutes, and then took that fabulous pork loin out of the oven. It is resting now. You told me to let it rest.
Exactly.
Does it need a nap, Virginia?
I know. It sounds like it does. So, but it really, it's just a little simple technique that will help people have a better roast. So anytime you cook meat, anytime you cook protein, a little bitty chicken breast all the way up to a big turkey or one of these pork roasts in between, you want to let the meat rest, and you want to keep it warm with foil. Let it rest approximately 1/4 of the cooking time.
Okay.
And what that does is it allows the juices to redistribute throughout the meat. I know that you've probably seen it. Someone takes a steak off the grill and puts it on the cutting board and slices into it, and the juices go everywhere.
Go everywhere.
That's exactly it. So when you let meat rest, it lets the juices redistribute throughout the meat.
So they kind of stay inside.
Exactly. It continues to cook, and it's going to be moist and delicious.
Gosh, well, obviously, this is the pan
that is our pan.
Particular roast came out of, and you're going to make the pan sauce.
We're going to make a pan sauce. So a lot of times people wonder about how to make a pan sauce. Pan sauces are really simple. It's not like thick like a gravy. Okay. So you can see here that we don't actually have a whole lot of fat.
Yeah,
sometimes
that was
the modern white meat doesn't produce a whole lot of fat. So we do want a little bit.
Okay.
We have the mustard seeds in there. And I'm just going to add a little
olive
bit of olive oil.
Okay.
And then now I have some shallot. And I did chop that during the break.
Oh my goodness, she is like, you don't need a Cuisinart if she is in the house, because it was just like crazy.
You have to chop with purpose, I believe. You
My
know?
sons would tell me when I first started doing the show, "Now, Mom, you got to be careful with that knife." But obviously, that's some of your French training.
That's some of our French training, exactly. So I'm going to ask you to turn that up just a little bit.
Okay, all right.
So what we did, we cooked the pork in this cast iron skillet, and we have the drippings, and now I'm going to add the shallot, and I'm going to, see, we're just going to loosen those bits.
I'm going to grab a pot holder.
Okay, and what we want to do is we're concentrating the shallot flavor, we're evaporating out some of the moisture, so we're just intensifying the flavors. And then once the shallot is just a little clear and translucent, I'm going to add a little bit of wine. And I think you have a great tip here with your wine.
Well, you've got really nice wine that maybe you didn't drink it all the night before, and you're cooking with it and or drinking it. I've found that the little bottles of wine for cooking are perfect, because if you don't use the whole thing, you've not wasted a whole lot.
No, exactly. And then but no one ever wants to cook with what's labeled cooking wine.
That's right.
Because that has so much salt in it. But doesn't that smell amazing?
Oh, that does.
All
We're
right.
good on the temperature.
I think we're going to keep it there. That'll be
Okay.
good, because now I'm going to add some white wine.
Oh, y'all.
And
Look at
so-
that. Look at how it's browning up.
So we're going to let that
It smells
reduce
so
a little
good.
bit.
Y'all.
Y'all.
That was just completely unrehearsed. That's why she named her cook. And I say that all the time. Maybe that's why I love your book so much.
Exactly. So while that reduces, we're going to let that reduce down a little bit. Once again, we're going to concentrate the flavor. But we can.
I need to get the.
You get the gratin. We're going to top it with some panko and cheese. These are some of my favorite recipes. I'm so glad to share them with you.
Oh gosh, that just looks wonderful.
So look at that. The cream is thickened. The squash is nice and tender. The greens.
It's so colorful. You know, and I love these dishes that are not. They're in a casserole dish, but they're not a casserole really. You know,
Well,
I think
no can of cream of soup.
no, absolutely not.
So the reason that we didn't want to top it before is that if we had topped it before, this would have gotten too brown and would have burned.
Okay.
So now that this is pretty much cooked, we can make our topping. And I've just combined Parmigiano Reggiano and panko breadcrumbs.
Oh, perfect.
And you know, Vera, I have to tell you, if someone wanted to do this ahead, they could take it. They could take it to this point, cover it with plastic wrap, put it in the refrigerator, and then finish baking it off the next day.
Oh, okay.
And all you want to do is let this come to room temperature before you put it in the oven to finish
that
it.
is a great tip, because I know time is of the essence this time of the year.
All right, so there's that. We're just going to top this. I'm going to ask you to pour the chicken stock into our pan sauce. We're going to let that reduce down again, and when we come back, I'll show you how to do something really fancy called Monte au beurre.
Oh, sounds French.
Finished with butter.
I feel like Julia. Come back with us after the break. I'm having the best time. Welcome back. In Virginia, I'm telling you, that just looks fantastic.
Oh my gosh, that looks delicious.
It is awesome. It looks great. And you know, we didn't even have to do anything during the break. We just got to smell all the wonderful aroma. So tell me now where we are with this.
Isn't this
I love
delicious?
the differentiation in the color there is great.
So this is so nice and tender and juicy. I'm just going to slice a couple slices. We let it rest, and the juices have redistributed. And
That pork is up from its nap. And just,
wakey,
it's
wakey.
amazing
Wakey,
how
wakey.
juicy that is, and very little of the juices coming off on the tray. That is beautiful. So pretty.
Really nice, and I love to do that. And a little bit of pink is okay with pork.
I think so
too. We want to
too.
cook it to 150. It's going to continue rising as it rests. Delicious and tender.
And I just did some cranberries and, you know, just some greenery on the tray. So,
Wanna do our pan sauce?
Yes, let's do the pan sauce.
Okay, so here we have the pan sauce, and what I have is I'm going to do something called Monte au beurre.
Oh, it sounds French.
And all that is finishing with butter. So I have the sauce, and I'm just going to take a couple of pats of butter and whisk into it.
You want me to turn this up?
No, don't. Actually, you do it on fairly low heat, so it
Oh,
doesn't
okay.
melt. It sort of emulsifies the sauce.
Oh,
I'm going to tell you what, if you just want to grab a spoonful of what's on that board with
yeah.
those tongs or that knife,
Yes.
finish it. Sorry, that was a surprise, but
That's
you don't
a
want
great
to.
idea.
You don't want to let that go to waste.
No.
But see how it's sort of nice and silky.
Yes.
And I'm just going to pour that. It'll continue to sort of emulsified
Oh, I love
there.
the way.
Isn't that
and
beautiful?
It's beautiful.
It's
and what
real-
was that word again?
Monte au beurre. Mount with butter.
Monte au beurre.
Exactly. So I'm going to pour this
I'll be practicing that.
into my dish.
Ah,
That's going to smell amazing.
oh,
Put that down
gosh.
here with our
Okay,
pork.
with our pork and our squash. And just
Really
what
nice.
a beautiful, beautiful arrangement. I tell you, these two dishes will definitely be on some tables in Augusta, Georgia. And I want you to send me photos when you
That's a
make
great
these.
idea.
Because Virginia would love to blog about it on her
I would love to
website
see
too, virginiawillis.com. And then of course, email me at vera@veryvera.com. I want to remind you that I'm doing my classes with the young people. We actually did the cutest class today, Virginia. I had Christmas treats. I had 8 to 14-year-olds showing some pictures right now. They love it.
That sounds
We've got all
awesome.
these eager people getting ready to come into the kitchen with us. But I want to remind you that those classes are starting in January, February, and March. We're doing around the holidays. So we're doing like a comfort food, a Valentine. And so be sure to sign up for those classes. But again, Virginia, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us.
My mama's glad I'm back in Evanston and Augusta.
I know, her mama, you know. And then, of course, these cookbooks are the perfect gift for Christmas. And Three Monkeys, who does all of our decorating for the kitchen here, hosted a beautiful signing. We did that for Virginia. We had a lot of people come and she signed book, but there's some extra ones. So be sure to pick these up for great gifts. They've got autographed copies at Three Monkeys. But I just want to remind you that as you go through the holidays, come up with new things to show your family. And no matter what you do it in good taste. So be sure to come back next week. I'm going to do a cookie swap. Join us again.
Bon appetit, y'all.
Bon
Thank you
appetit,
so much for
y'all.
having
Love
me.
it. Thank you so much.